are live.
Hey, and like I said, we don't have a social media manager, so
Our social media manager is working right now. So last week I remember I noticed I forgot to put something on the table so you could see all the cables and everything. So I changed it. So now there will be a chat going up between us, so people watching the stream can read the comments.
But we can't.
Yeah, right.
Right. At the monitor that's like 3 meters that way. Right. Which might die.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So hang in there. If we have if you can hear that noise, the power supply is dying on the PC.
I think we need to start a GoFundMe.
Yeah, right. So there's a replacement sitting next to it. It just didn't automatically put itself into the PC. So I'll try to get that done before next week.
That's how computers work.
And I'll try to take that noise out for the audio. So hopefully, if you're listening to this now on the Patreon RSS, hopefully you're not hearing the grinding noise in the background. But
it's white noise.
Yeah, that's a failing power supply. There we go. Yeah, so you can almost read the...
Almost. TTRPG ASMR.
So hey Miguel and hey Abyss, nice to see you guys. So yeah, new format on the chat, as well as all the notifications now have a D20.
Oh no! Why would you do that?
There is a and it always rolls 20s for some reason.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, there is a large die now that shows up. Let's see, where are we going here? Yeah, that shows up for the any of the notifications. So hopefully we get to see that. I think it's still the same audio, but there's a big die. Let me see if I can
big die
make that happen here.
No, just kind of D20, fine, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Generally, I prefer something with a bell curve or dice pool.
Oh, right.
But like after seeing a couple like new, not new accounts, but maybe new accounts for me on Twitter, I'm thinking like, wow, the 20 has really, as you would expect, kind of that's the TTRPG thing, like the number of like D20 name or 20-sided whatever or 20 thing, just because of the D20 and how prevalent it is in TTRPG space, and how that's kind of like that's affected the name. Hey, we should change your name to Upturned Table 20.
20, right? Yes.
20 upturned tables.
20, yeah, that's true. Okay, here's the new alert here as an example. Hey, all right. Thank you, ES, for your subscription. So just 7,
nice. All right.
7 hours.
Maybe that's how we can entice people to subscribe.
Yeah, right.
If you do something awesome,
double damage,
money wise, it'll go to a 20.
Right. All right. So yeah. So themed this a little bit more, so it's a little bit more readable. So yeah,
cool. I like that.
So yeah, we can have this going on during the
next. What we need is like a booster seat, so I'm kind of like actually level with you.
Right.
I am not this small in real life somehow.
Well, that chair, I took this much off the legs.
That's what it is. That's what it is. Yeah.
Nice. All right. So how are things going with you game-wise? Anything
It's non-existent.
Was there an RPG? Was there a JRPG?
I forgot. Yeah, last week I forgot to say there was the second for me because I couldn't make one, session of the Hollow Earth RPG being run at the Kansai International Gamers Guild.
Nice.
And yeah, I'm enjoying it. It's fun. We did the GM did a nice thing where it's like, okay, your character was absent last time, and we found a narrative reason for the party to split. You went with this other group, and now we're back together again, right? So it was kind of, I mean, it's a game, so you can just say your character is here, but not focusing. But I thought that was a nice way to go, and tell us what happened. And I was like, oh, you put me on the spot like that. But it was a good way to kind of bring everything back. I'm liking it. I'm noticing there's some... I'm not tossing them under the bus. There's players who like to roll before being kind of... Okay, we haven't really set the stakes. We haven't really figured out what may or may not happen. Right? It's just kind of like, I want to roll. And I'm like, okay. I get it.
Just hand them a D20. Let them play with that way while they're...
But again, as much as I like the Ubiquity system, just because it's pretty simple, I said this online too, it's still... You make that number mean something.
Oh, right.
Right? We'll just spit a number. You make that meaningful. Where I'm kind of off those kind of games a little bit. Like I'm enjoying myself and I'm having fun, but I want something that kind of goes, here's some ideas, or we've definitely decided, like Blades in the Dark, which we still haven't played. We've definitely decided what these numbers and success are going to mean. Now let's see if you do it. Where this game is very much, okay, let's roll. GM, interpret that.
Yeah,
and there is GM's doing an excellent job. There is that downtime of I rolled.
Yeah, right.
Which isn't terrible, but I can see how like D&D can go for like long sessions where it's like, oh, we've got these lots of basically not D&D. No, let me not slam it. It's like any kind of trad game where it's like DM says roll, you say your number, and then you wait for the DM to spit out what happens.
Yeah, in early days with like, the tables, like THACO tables and stuff. Yeah, that was a little bit more. It's like, what? Oh, yeah, you have like a weird... Yeah, that's... I can understand that kind of... that delay is kind of weird to understand, like... Because it's really fun with games that are like D6 die pools that have, this is success, this is success with complication, this is fail, where everyone reacts to the rolls. We were getting that a lot with Blade Runner when when we're I got to try to do this and nothing. Okay, push it and nothing.
Right.
So the party was responding a lot to the rolls, and there wasn't any sort of translation or calculation. That was a little bit of my problem with the narrative dice system.
Right.
Is just like there's a little bit too much reading the bones.
Yeah. Yeah, you can go too far with that and everything, and like okay, I have to now interpret this one. But if you kind of have those 3 tiers of like success, but, and maybe failure, but, then it's at least, if that's always a static number, something like Blades in the Dark, where it's like, you got a 6, or you got a 4 to 5, or you got a 1, 2, or 3, you at least know where you are. Like, yeah, I did it. What does that look like? Or you can kind of better help sculpt that narrative. Or like, oh, mixed success. Well, okay, we're going to get some positive, or just, oh, we blew it. Where unless the DM says difficulty 5 or difficulty whatever, you don't know. And it's not bad. It's just maybe kind of not necessarily what I want.
Right.
I'm still enjoying myself, so.
Well, that's good. Yeah, I'm starting to really get into the 2D20. We're still doing the John Carter 2D20, and I'm really starting to, and I think the players too, especially in combat, are really starting to enjoy the momentum system, and also how that kind of connects to the narrative of what you're doing. Because I think I've heard people complain about like that threat economy, that if the game master just holds on to everything and then just like screw you at the end, but it's like. You're cooperatively telling a story enough that's like, well, that would be a stupid thing that wouldn't happen. Like, you kind of feel, so when the players are failing, then it feels like, yeah, you can bring in something to kind of end, and they get away because you guys just, fell down the stairs or whatever.
Right.
There's really interesting dynamics. And I think it's really fun for the players when the crits are rolled and the momentum is building, that they can just keep just more and more and more. They're mowing through minions and everything. I think that is very pulp and feels pretty good. I'm starting to get used to like how that dynamic works after a few sessions, and it feels
that's
good.
how I want it to look, and that's kind of still why I want to look at that 2D20 Conan. But like in that one, does a fail have to be a fail, right? Because it could be pulp. Like if you spend a lot of that threat to turn something into a fail, could it be like, and you run your sword through the last guy and here come 10 more, right? Where like mechanically it's a fail, but narratively it's something stopped you from being awesome, or you were awesome, but...
Yeah. And the system will allow you even to not be stopped dead by two crappy rolls, because you can succeed with I forget what it's called, consequence. So you just pay threat to the
I like
pool,
that.
and like, okay, I want to push past this. We're not going to be stopped here. We're getting through this door, and you can push on through.
I really want to see that in action, and I'm kind of sorry I'm not in that game, because that sounds like it would be awesome for like investigative games too, where like, okay, like how many times have we talked about like you can't put the important clue behind a fucking roll if a failed roll is going to stop the story. But in this case, it's like, here's some meta currency to spend later. We know we're kind of screwing ourselves, but we now find that thing, and the investigation continues, just with a lot more opposition later on. That sounds kind of interesting. Yeah,
and the balance of the threat works pretty well, because you are okay, we didn't take the consequence now, we're going to take it later.
Right.
And you're kind of like shifting in time when the bad thing is going to happen or when you're going to have to come up against a bigger opposing force. And I think that makes sense. So, and I think it's just taste and people, like everybody at the table, kind of getting the system and enjoying like what you can do in it. And and that doesn't take, I think the bigger the group is with D20, the more you're going to have somebody that's like,
D20 or 2D20?
Oh, 2D20. Sorry.
Right.
Yeah, 2D20. You're going to have people just, I hate this. I spent all my momentum and whatever.
Then that's table culture. Then it's like, okay, everyone, so next game, we're still deciding. Right. That person leaves. Okay, next game is this time, right? Okay, that's the childish way to do it, right? Like, actually sit down, have a discussion, because the person probably isn't getting what they want from that game. And be like, maybe this game isn't for you. Mm-hmm. We'll call you when we play something else.
Yeah.
So
That's
that can be hard to do. So I understand.
that's
not wanting to do it, but sometimes that's what you got to do, I think.
Yeah, it's interesting, and especially the situation we're in, where it's all expats and people from different cultures, different expectations. It's a little bit, there's a little more wrangling than I would like. So I'm enjoying.
I was talking in general terms, and all of a sudden we're getting very specific.
So I'm enjoying the online thing I'm doing because we're all kind of same generation, same.
You're all sitting there.
So it was.
Sorry,
I
was going to say you're all moving your walk in front of the screen. Sorry.
We're all like, oh, did your back hurt? Yeah, my back is killing me. But
what'd you do? I just slept wrong.
Yeah, so it's but it is interesting, but I do enjoy the dynamics of having like younger players at the table that have so much energy and so much like, I love this lore and I want my character to be the biggest badass. That's really fun, but if it's not, if the system
fights it,
that you really get out of control. So
no, I guess the takeaway there is you definitely want the system that kind of matches the play style of the group, right? Mm-hmm. Like, otherwise you run into the situations where it's like, no, we're just going to ignore these rules. Then why the fuck are you playing this game, right?
Right.
Like, I understand wanting to internalize the rules to be able to use them to tell the story, but if the rules are actively fighting what you are trying to do...
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's true. All right. Well, should we get started for this week? So let's see. Let's see what the tabletop world is up to, and it's up to no good as usual. All right.
There should just be a perpetual, not the best.
Yes, right. So hey, Miguel and Abyss, good to see you guys in the chat. Yeah, so their commentary will be running through the middle. So we actually real time, because what I do is go back.
I like that.
Go back and read the chat, and it's like we go back an hour, and people are like, "What was this about?" or "What were we talking about?" So because if they comment on our little tangents, then it's impossible to tell. But now we have a living record of our
shenanigans.
Yes.
Right.
All right. Okay, let's do this. Yep. Welcome to the Weekly. I'm Jeremy.
I'm Chris.
And this week on the Weekly, Asmodee Digital Rebrand.
Okay.
Lost Dungeons of Tonisborg. Mm-hmm. Renegade licensed classic games from Hasbro. And D&D History Doc by Critical Role Player.
Oh, okay. Until I heard that last syllable, I was like, all right.
Yeah, we've hinted at this before. I think when this one little new department of Hasbro was formed, they talked about this. So this has been in the planning for a while.
Okay.
And there's good and bad about it. And the way they're talking about it doesn't make me want to watch it. Anyway, so let's start off with Asmodee. So this is, I should get my tentacles up because this is Embracer talk. But so what's happening now in the wonderful world of Embracer is some of these things are starting to come to pass, like some of the things that we...
And so it came to pass.
Yes.
That doesn't sound positive.
Right. There's going to be stone tablets someday that will tell this story. So we have a name change, a rebrand for Asmodee Digital.
Okay.
And they've already... So basically they're doing like digital versions of the board games that they have. Right. And we know Asmodee has Fantasy Flight. So they're been responsible for kind of PC versions of board games that you can play either with online opponents or against kind of an AI or whatever.
Isn't this the thing we were talking about with like Catan, where you had to you buy the physical game and then you kind of get a key, or is that
that's
something
right.
else?
That was another program that they
Okay.
So this is they didn't mention that in this press release. This is just talking about the new name, and then they just go off the rails about how wonderful it is that they have a new name. So Asmodee Digital is now Twin Sails Interactive, because I'm sure someone really loves their boat, that's
Right,
involved in
okay.
this. It's like either your dog or your boat that you rename a company after. But anyhow, so the face of deeper changes that's been going on. So this renaming as related to deeper changes that have been going on for the past 18 months. So we've been known as doing digital board game conversions for years. And this is a quote from an interview with Nicholas Godement. So he is the head of Asmodee Digital. So their rebranding is. So this is what they're doing now. So for the past year or two, we've been expanding our range of games. That are just games into brand new board games, into brand new video games, third party, indie, AA, and so not just digital board games. So they're going to try to compete with they're pretty big, but they're going to try to compete with much more experienced studios and developers, although Embracer does own a lot of them now. So
Is it a competition?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's just, this is the beginning of synergy. This is the beginning of what they were warning us about. So, and the twin sails imagery of their rebrand brings up the notion of togetherness, passion, and a little bit of adventure. The corporate speak is just real nauseating. But I guess Asmodee, I didn't know this, Asmodee owns Gloomhaven. Okay. So yeah, that's that. So they're going to do a full, and they're also pushing to onto consoles. So previously they're basically just doing PC stuff. So now they're pushing like Terraforming Mars and Gloomhaven onto consoles. So that's going to be a big change.
So they're basically just making digital versions of these board games that they own.
Right.
And
that was what they've been,
previously they had been kind of PC ports only. They're now going into console. Yeah,
they're not going to consoles, and now they're doing original properties and unique games that are like strategy games or first-person shooters or whatever. Like they're branching.
Oh, so they're actually going to start developing their own games on IPs they own.
Yeah, right.
That
or
are
original.
not just board game ports.
Yeah, so they're getting deeper into actually being a game studio. But it sounds like they only have, I believe they said like 50 employees. So this isn't. There's no in-house art staff. That this is like brand managers and producers, and they even made a comment towards the end of this interview. It's like, yeah, some people will think we're actually going to make their work harder, but in the end, we're going to have a much nicer product. So it's like that's not what you want to hear from these people that are going to fly in, to your studio.
Like you said, with the Embracer Group, and who knows how it's going to work. If the Embracer Group owns video games, I mean, like, it could be employees. Could it be employees of like one game studio go, okay, now you're working on this project, which is an original game from the Twin Sails library,
right?
Whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, because it is brand manager, so it's going to be people negotiating this stuff, and because they have Fantasy Flight that already has like and Embracer has Lord of the Rings,
right?
But it has like Lord of the Rings IP. I think things that they're thinking about working on are like the big bigger kind of more widely popular brands and things. So it's it doesn't sound, I'm sorry, I overestimated. It's 30 people right now that are working there. So it's basically like they've created these like 30 middle managers, gave them a new name, and said, okay, now go harass all the studios we own and crack the whip and get them to keep the licensors happy and all that, all the licensees happy and all that good stuff. So it sounds like so we want to do quality work. We want to scale gradually. In 10 years, if we've got 500 people, sure, we'll publish more games, or maybe we won't. We'll just publish bigger games. So this sounds really like everybody that actually does the work, their job just got a hell of a lot harder because you're going to have more fingers and as
opinions. We all know, more cooks always mean a better stew.
Yeah. So we're just things are going to get more and more done by committee, and in the case of actual video games and console games, if you don't know that market, you're not going to be able to compete very well.
I guess, like I've said this numerous times, I have like no corporate experience other than being under it, and it sucks. But I wonder if, this is just an idea, like if Twin Sails Interactive just said, we have these board games. We could do digital versions of them that had not been seen on console. Right? Like, why not kind of do that first for a while, right?
Well,
hey, you want to play Gloomhaven but don't have the space, or like, great, now you can play it on your PS5, or you can play it on your whatever. And I would think that doing that first would at least kind of like build up the name, and would be a much a smaller job than building a complete game from scratch, right? With like a Gloomhaven IP, right? Because the mechanics are already there. You're just gonna, and I'm not saying it's easy. You just would have to turn them into code, right? But you don't have to like develop the game. You don't have to design the same. Like all the stuff is there. You just gotta change the format. I would imagine that would be orders of magnitude easier than building like a first-person shooter from nothing. Right?
I think this just has to do with Embracer. Now we've got all these things together, and now you guys should, because you're already managing IPs and you've got this experience making these digital board games. Why don't you run the show and kind of coordinate who gets what license and how things get produced? And so it because it sounds like they said that for the past 18 months they've kind of legitimized themselves by doing these digital board game conversions, and now they want to move into real games.
So they've been doing that.
And so the name change goes along with this kind of change of now we're going to go specifically into console gaming, original IPs, and 3D games that are not just board game adaptations. So the last quote we've got is even before the Embracer acquisition, one of our studios, Fantasy Flight Games, has always been known for bringing video game brands into board games, so like Fallout, Civilization, and XCOM. So it's something we've always done. Now it's time that we're part of. Now that we're part of the Embracer group, it's probably something everyone wants to do more of. So there's going to be a lot of this back and forth, and especially as Embracer starts to acquire studios that have interesting popular IPs, then it's going to get easier to make that back into a board game and make it into different kinds of mobile games, and all the nonsense begins. But that wasn't that was a news story that kind of was left over from last week, and it was like, we've had so much bad news this week, I don't think we want to talk about a rebranding of Asmodee Digital. But it's so remember, Asmodee was acquired by Embracer 2.75 billion euros in December of last year. So this is a new kind of working relationship, and I can't, especially from the quotes from this interview, I can't feel anything but sorry for the people that are going to be under these brand managers. I've never heard a brand manager say anything intelligent. It's always just
corporate speak.
Yeah, it's real depressing. But they've always loved, ever since they were a kid, they always loved that brand.
That two-masted boat.
Yeah, right. Always loved that brand that they're representing until they are assigned a different one, and then I always loved this ever since I was a kid. You get that all the time. That's how that's your legitimacy.
That's what you have to say, though, right? I don't know. I get it. I don't have the same level of hate for them, because I'm just like, you have to say this, right? I don't respect you for it. I don't like it, but I'm not surprised, right?
Right.
Anyway.
So let's move on to something wonderful.
Ooh, yeah.
So there's a new Kickstarter. It's been, I think, about a week now, but they are kickstarting the second printing, which is they already did a pre-order release, and everyone's got their books now. But now they're bringing it to Kickstarter because I think people were frustrated because it only shipped to the U.S. So this broadens it a little bit, not completely, still no Japan shipping, but this broadens it out to Europe and other parts of the world. So Kickstarter now has a continued second printing hardcover edition of The Lost Dungeons of Tonisborg.
Oh, okay.
And so that's the complete 10-level mega dungeon in a module in a single hardbound volume that was thought lost forever. So when they were making the Secrets of Blackmoor documentary, of course, they were going through all kinds of all the archives and everybody's paper documents, and they actually found a copy of the keys and some of the writing that was done of Greg Svensson's Tonisborg. So this was the second ever dungeon made for roleplay, and in this volume, so they're working with Daniel Boggs and of course Greg Svensson, and so the Chris and Griff that worked on the documentary are now doing we're doing this actually project simultaneously. So this came up, and they couldn't ignore it. Like, this is a huge find. This is so great for like the history of role playing. So at the same time, they did the first printing of that book. It was part of the Kickstarter and offered as on a higher tier that you pledged. So it was a little expensive, and I don't think everybody that wanted the book got it because it was a little pricey. So they did a second printing, and the price came down a bit. but still really amazing quality. And they even, because of paper shortages and things, had to upgrade the paper quality of the book. So it's really nice. And the original drawings of the dungeon levels are there presented as color plates.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so it's a black and white book, feels very old school, but right in the middle you have these gorgeous color plates with the the colored marker and everything on graph paper. It's like, this is, it's a real nice way to represent that kind of archival stuff. But this volume is not only a module, it's a complete game system, because because they're working with Daniel Boggs, they included the Champions of Zed, which is kind of the 0 edition role-playing rules, kind of the closest simulation of the first rules that they used for Blackmoor and the earliest...
I'll be honest, I probably won't get this because I have enough stuff already, but I would be very interested to see what those rules look like from just...
You can take a look at mine. Yeah.
Ooh, all right.
Yes.
Have I mentioned this is why I come on the cast? Yeah.
Right. It's a big book commune, basically. So Greg Svensson was a player in Dave Arneson's original Blackmoor campaign, the first ever fantasy roleplay campaign, and the forerunner of D&D. He wanted to run his own adventures, so Arneson suggested he build his own dungeon. Under the city of Tonisborg on the Blackmoor map, Arneson gave Svensson the playtest rules of what would eventually become Dungeons & Dragons, on which to run his dungeon, and this is that dungeon.
Oh, cool.
And so they redrew the maps. So they have the original archival reproductions of what he drew on graph paper, but then they had another map maker redraw the maps themselves, so they're very usable, and then recreated all the keys. It's really well laid out, and then the rules section is the later half of the book. The dungeon is right in the middle, and the beginning is all advice from everybody contribute, like how to make it interesting for players, how what to hold back, what to give, like a lot of advice that you don't have to take it all, you don't have to include it all in what you're doing, but there's probably going to be things that'll really illuminate, like this is what I've never done before that would make it so much more interesting at the table. So talking about just surprises and player expectation and really like those old school basic thinking that I think is seeped into the DNA of like a lot of what people are doing game wise now, but to see it spelled out and to see it like referred to specifically, it's very interesting.
I would want to read that as well, because like I said, I'd be interested in seeing rules that are kind of as close to 0 edition as possible, just for history's sake. But I also wanted, it sounds like the advice wasn't written decades ago.
Right.
The advice was written now. So I kind of wonder what modern thinking has seeped into that advice and how that combines with this very old school dungeon and these very old school rules. Maybe kind of looked at through a modern, but maybe not too modern lens. So
yeah, I think it definitely has been digested. It's been like I think that's part of it, and also the effort in this advice I think is to kind of go back to this earlier aesthetic too, because the kind of the concept of these mega dungeons is not you gotta just blast all the way through it. It's this living dungeon that's constantly changing, and you go back and forth, like your party goes into it for a session, they go out and do something else.
You get to like level 2 or 3, and then you get better find a place to camp.
Right. Yeah, so it's this kind of living thing that's constantly there for you to adventure in and interact with, and so a very different aesthetic than kind of the railroading linear kind of. Well, this is the story,
or is it though?
Well,
maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, so it's so a really nice piece of history, and it's amazing that they were able to do this and a documentary at the same time. So the first edition that I believe had like a purple leather cover. This is a red cover for the second edition, so they're very easy to tell apart. But that was only available in limited quantities for that first Kickstarter. Now there's a new Kickstarter where you can either get this hardcover edition, which is $100. They had a few remaining, which actually the original price was $160 for the first edition. So they brought it down in price a little bit, which is nice, maybe because of quantity of what they're producing. And there's also a softcover edition being produced. So if 100 is still like, that's a lot, but I really want this, they are doing a softcover as well. And also limited edition prints of the art from the book to kind of support the artist, because all of the original art is reproduced and really beautifully too. They really, cleaned it up. It's very crisp and looks just like it was, produced
on graph paper.
On graph paper back then.
Or maybe even hex paper.
Right. Man. Yes. And so if you want to take a look at what's in that book, I did a flip through of my version, and just kind of did the highlights of all the the topic. So I'll put a link to that in the description. And so yeah, take a look at that. It's well worth supporting. It's a great project, and this is like a huge effort and a work of love and passion that brought this into reality. And also they may be sold out by now, but from that first run of the second printing that they did for that pre-order, there were still some available. So they offered that as a pledge level of like a quick ship. Right, so those would be shipping next month. If you want the book next month, they still have some on hand that they will send out with that pledge level. It's identical in price. It's not any more or less expensive. And then the regular one, I think, is maybe next year.
Okay.
After the new year. But if you are interested in kind of all of the old school thinking and seeing like how an old school dungeon with all of its diagonal corridors on
yeah,
I mean, it's really and there was a little bit I listened to an interview with Greg Svensson, and he talked about he used a D6 a lot to just kind of determine and kind of randomize how he was going to lay out the dungeon.
Nice.
So that's why it has that kind of that unique format that a lot of the old school dungeons have, is because they're trying to look for some way to randomize and make it interesting.
Disclaim decision making.
Yeah, right. So so check that out. I'll put a link to that, and it's the Lost Dungeons of Tonisborg. Back to the world of licensing and Hasbro and all that nonsense. So we had a little bit of respite there.
All right, cool.
that was happiness and joy.
Shovel more shit onto my plate. All right, here we go.
Renegade Game Studios are expanding their licensing partnership with Hasbro. So Hasbro made that mention. One of the people handling Heroscape said, "Yeah, we're going to go back into our archives and dig through and start torturing your need for nostalgia with all of our." So actually, they're going to hand that off. They're delegating that work to Renegade Games. So Renegade is now the new home of Axis and Allies, Robo Rally, and Diplomacy, as well as Squad Leader. So they just in October expanded the licensing that they were already doing. They already had done a little bit of work with Hasbro, and I guess it went well. Their relationship was working. So starting next year, they will be producing games for the hobby market, mass market, and specialty market. So I guess they're going to go after all the different. So maybe like a cheaper version.
I was trying to wonder what those hobby. Mass market, and hobby, and specialty.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, that's true. I wonder what the differentiation is. Let's see. Axis and Allies is getting a new website. They're going to be running a world championship competition for it. So they're really going to kind of put some money and effort behind this. And then the other games like Robo Rally and Diplomacy are getting reprints of kind of the classic. So I guess they have the files and stuff to do that. So a quote from Renegade: "We are proud to be working with Hasbro and are thrilled to see this partnership thriving. All of these games are staples for gamers and some of the most well-known brands in the world of gaming. Our team is excited to dive in and get to work." So the other thing that they're going to be in charge of, which this is probably part of the thing you got to do if you're dealing with Hasbro, is they're going to be doing new versions of Risk themed around the popular brands that the IPs that Hasbro owns, like G.I. Joe, Transformers, and Power Rangers. I don't know how Risk works with the Power Rangers, but I'm curious about the mechanics of that.
It's
the Pink Ranger has all of Asia.
Yeah. Sorry, it would be the Yellow Ranger. Come on there, Jeremy.
Oh, no.
Come on. Right? Based on the 90s one.
Yeah, right.
Anyway.
Right.
I mean, okay. I scoffed at that at first, but how many monopolies are there, right? And you just it's not negative, but you can reskin a lot of these games to just, it's the same mechanics, just different shapes of whatever. And honestly, I don't hate this. I don't hate a lot of stuff. But I wonder if saying, okay, we have these games, or Hasbro, saying like, I don't know if it takes like insight or honesty to go, maybe we don't really have the resources or time or motivation to do anything with these games. You do.
Right.
Okay, fine. We'll license them to you. You now kind of do everything with them, and we're still getting money because you're paying us a licensing fee. And there's going to be new versions of these games done by people who are maybe more interested in them than we are, and that allows us to focus on something else. So why not? Yeah,
no, that's true. And I think, Renegade has had some success. They did Power Rangers Heroes of the Grid, a G.I. Joe role-playing game, okay, and a Transformers deck building game. So they've been taking those IPs already and doing stuff with them. And I think I've heard like they kind of have been working with contractors and stuff to people that are into those IPs. Right. So they're getting some people passionate about this stuff from that generation. So,
that, I think that's okay. I think that's the best you're going to get with corporate stuff, right? Mm-hmm. Like, get people who are interested and want to do these games actually working on them, right?
Right. So, so that's we'll have to see like how these things are offered, and if the quality, if they're going to go into specialty stores and hobby stores, they need to be better quality than the junk that they get to Walmart.
Well, that's mass market there, I guess.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I hope. I mean, and I hope there's a differentiation, or else there's going to be a lot of like confusion about why. Yeah, I don't know.
Do you think that matters though? I mean, from a corporate standpoint, no. We've got your money, so who cares?
Yeah, right.
But like thinking about when I went into, I'm not buying Magic anymore, but thinking about when I went to go get the deck, I'm just like, what the is happening? There is just too much stuff. But for something like a board game, do you think it would really matter to someone to be like, okay, I've got these 3 versions, I don't really know. I mean, they're all going to be Risk, right? And maybe it's just going to be, whoa, this is a fake leather board or whatever, as opposed to like just a one-sided kind of thing. I don't know.
Yeah, I hope that it's pretty clear, because there are going to be people that are buying these as collectors, like have a Power Rangers collection.
Oh man, I got a cardboard version.
And well, just like my disappointment with Heroscape, it was or not Hero Quest.
Oh right,
Hero
right.
Quest, it was just like, come on, you're supposed to. This is like a nostalgia grab. You want to make something that's going to last.
Got your money.
And they just did the same like crap quality stuff that they would have done for Candyland or anything that they would.
Don't knock Candyland. New respect for Candyland after I figure out what its purpose was. All right?
You missed a discussion in the chat. I can't remember if it was last week or the week before about reskinning Candyland with the Chaos God. So the colors of Candyland were that would be much more interesting. Kids would learn a lot more, I think, by the time they got to the end.
I don't know. Would it just be about taking a walk?
Right, it would get pretty dicey, but so that's gonna happen. So I expect more nostalgia farming, and we'll see how Renegade handles this.
I honestly wonder how much more nostalgia farming we can do.
I know.
I'm part of it,
and it's strange that they're giving up, because it seemed like they were supporting their Avalon Hill branding and everything with this stuff, and now if they're handing it off to Renegade, then I don't know, but we'll see.
And does Hasbro own Avalon Hill?
Yes, that's
well, then Hasbro can kind of do whatever they want.
Yeah. But it seems like if they were building up that as the nostalgia brand, because it has the name recognition, nostalgia.
Maybe that's it.
Name recognition.
Or maybe I don't know. Maybe there's going to be some kind of like partnered with Avalon Hill or the Avalon Hill collection, whatever.
Yeah, we'll have to
specialty collector.
Yeah, we'll have to see how this stuff comes out. Yeah, how they actually brand it. That's true. Okay, so I'll put a link to The Secrets of Blackmore, and you should watch that. That is the best documentary about the Blackmore group and the early gamers, and that is a definitive interview with family and survivors and everyone, and some great archival footage of Dave Arneson, and just you have to watch that.
You're channeling me with the hands. You're obviously excited.
And now you can, after you've done that, then you can think about. Secrets of Blackmore, a rental code is included in the Tonisborg Kickstarter. So I think every pledge level.
Rental code.
Yeah. Jesus. So it's on I think Vimeo and Amazon Prime. So like a 48-hour code for because you can get the DVD,
right.
But they also so that's just included as kind of a to show you what else they were working on while they were working on Tonisborg.
No, I was just grimacing at the idea of a rental code and how the push in all media seems to be it's not yours despite the fact you bought it. Anyway, continue.
Well, at least the rental code is honest. The own it. They have to change own it to I don't know what. Yeah, have complete access to it for as long as we do. But there is another documentary coming out next year to correspond, of course, with the 50th anniversary of D&D, which we're gonna get tired of that real fast. I think by February we're gonna be like, okay, is it over yet?
Yeah.
Is this anniversary year over? So this was Entertainment One, that new Hasbro division that they've set up and brought in a bunch of
people.
Yeah, Polygon and various digital people on this to manage the image of D&D and whatever. But the person that they're putting at the head of, who was credited as a Critical Role player, a player in Critical Role, is Joe Manganiello. What is if that's a GJ or JG? Manganiello. You know the guy. He's the actor.
Yeah.
That's been he was in a couple of one shots or campaigns for Critical Role.
Yeah. No.
And has become.
I'm thinking of this True Blood werewolf character.
Yes, exactly. Yes. So is there a lot of full frontal nudity on the web of him at this point as a werewolf? I don't know.
He was also wasn't he also in the Full Monty? Anyway.
Oh yeah.
No.
Yeah. The other one. Yes.
Yeah, the other one. Whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, Mike.
Yeah. I can't remember. His name.
Whatever that was. Yeah, there was a list of his credits.
Yeah.
But so he and his brother. So you got to get the brother in there. So Nicky, come on, let's make this video for Hasbro. That's not how he talks. No. He's a very literate fellow. So they're making the definitive, official documentary feature of the world's greatest role-playing game.
Right.
As of yet untitled. They're working with, of course, he's working with Kyle Newman, who's done a little bit of directing. He did an A24 film, and he's done some smaller films. Nick, his brother, and of course Cynthia Williams is involved. Right. So this is the Cynthia that we were hearing from last time. So she is the president of Wizards and the former Microsoft exec. That was the Cynthia that people are so happy to work with. So they get a little bit of credibility because they do credit John Peterson as probably just being an advisor or helping put some of the stuff in order. And they are being given by Wizards of the Coast access to over 400 hours of archival footage. So there's a lot of stuff that they're going to have access to that nobody else has been able to get near just because it's owned by Hasbro. And now Hasbro is going to, let somebody take advantage of this. And they're also doing this odd thing where they're giving the filmmakers access to parts of the development and branding process in their current iteration of D&D. Okay. So it may just be like a big promotional thing. It's like, here's our long storied history, and here's some, 8mm, Super 8 footage, and then here's all the geniuses sitting around these gorgeous, tables, conference tables, coming up with the magic that you so it might just be a big.
That's, why would it not?
Yeah, right.
Why would it not, right? Okay, call me cynical. I'm kind of already suspect of an organization making a documentary about itself, right? You're just like, I'm not saying it's automatically going to suck.
Joe wouldn't lie to us. Joe's a straight shooter. He's a werewolf.
In some iterations, okay. But it's just like, you own this thing, right? You can say, of course you're not going to say anything bad about it, or I don't know. Independent documentary. I'm not saying the people who make those don't have agendas as well, but I don't know. It does
have a director. It's just not going to be a board, a corporate board that's choosing how this is done. They did hire a director, and they're putting some faces on it, and they got John Peterson to kind of supervise. So maybe there'll be some accuracy, and you'll actually have some historical content and some factual reality. So this was the first time that Wizards has allowed that part, the current access to development for D&D, to be filmed. So we'll get an idea of the schlubs sitting around, drinking their lattes and
like we are. I was just going to say, drinking their. Oh, hey, wait, we don't have any product placement, so let me not flash that mermaid around on the side, right? No, but I'm not going to watch because I don't care. But I think by February we're going to be horrifically sick of the 50th anniversary of D&D. So maybe February we're going to have to be like, and that's it. For the rest of the year we're going to pretend it's not happening.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. So the quote from the director, E1's head of global television. Oh, so this is going to be a television release. As we approach 50 years of an incredible gaming universe, the time is right, and we get a bunch of quotes like this. Time is right for an officially authorized telling of the game's origins, current state of play, to its passionate fan base from all walks of life, and its global cultural impact, which they're going to get completely wrong. But so this was the whole probably motivation for putting together this E1 kind of entertainment wing. It's like, this is your first big assignment.
I hadn't really considered that, but probably.
Better knock it out of the park. Yeah.
Right.
And of course, they're going to bring up Honor Among Thieves, their movie that's coming out next year, and Critical Role. Yeah. And
I wonder, are they going to... Okay.
Yeah. They said, and owes, referring to Joe.
Oh, yeah.
Himself, who owes a large part of his career success in this field to being part of Critical Role. So
Yeah,
we'll see. I was just like, nobody wants to watch, a corporate promotional video.
I think you are underestimating how rabid some fans of things are.
Yeah. Well, that's true. I mean, there probably will be, and then again, too, this is going to get torn apart on social media for its accuracy, for its portrayal of Dave Arneson. Like, there's a lot of stuff they got to be real careful about.
The thing is, will they care?
Oh, I think the old school people.
No,
will
I meant
care.
like corporate.
No, they won't. No. Yeah, this is just promotional piece for them. It's just regardless whatever.
What I'm expecting, like I said, I'm not going to watch this unless I'm forced to. Hey, there's a new pledge level. I'm expecting them to just sidestep a lot of ugly stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, that's true.
Not say it didn't happen, just either like gloss over it, or the way they tell the story is like, we don't have to share that part, right? Mm-hmm. So...
Yeah, Demons were taken out of second edition just because there wasn't enough.
My thought is like, can you really... I guess you could, right? You could say like you're leaving out a lot of stuff, right? But that seems a lot less angry than getting stuff wrong. So I'm expecting this E1 documentary to just kind of go, and fast forward 5 years, and or like TSR collapsed, right? For reasons, right? Or things like that. Anyway,
all right. Yeah, so we'll see. I guess March. They have a date. If they're saying opens in theaters, who's going to go to a theater to watch a corporate cheerleader film? March 3rd, 2023. So they better show some compelling trailers that are going to be like, wow, okay, this is some stuff that I didn't know about and I would like to see, like the archival footage and things. They better make that pretty enticing, because Secrets of Blackmore did a very good job of talking about
They say opening in theaters. Mm-hmm. To be technically correct, all they got to do is open in 2.
Yeah, right.
Right? Mm-hmm. So...
Yeah, so we'll see what... I think they're definitely overestimating how much people want to watch a D&D documentary made by wizards
I don't know.
in the theater.
In the theater, yeah.
Okay. I don't know, but this is March is pretty early in the anniversary year, so yeah, they're expecting some fatigue. I think
maybe
pretty fast.
Well, also you kind of wanted to put. You want to get stuff out early, and I mean you want to
and get this out
right?
before the feature the fiction film. Yeah, so we'll see, and this isn't the first. This isn't the first D&D documentary. Yeah, that wasn't official. It wasn't sanctioned by Wizards at the time, but Role Players was handled by Studio XTR, and I've never seen it, but it did have some never before seen archival footage and stuff. So it's been done. It's just never been done officially. So here's the official version. So I don't know if that's I don't know what that's going to do, and it may actually just turn some people off. Some people that like, oh, this is a weird geeky hobby, and then you hit them with this big historical thing. It's like, oh, my grandfather could have played this game. Ugh.
Do you think that'll happen, or do you think the people that would be excited about this weird geeky hobby and would like share it in like the sort of non-sociable weird geeky hobby way that turned people off, like regardless of what those people talked about, they were going to turn people off. So I think this is going to have minimal impact, honestly. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true, and it's just a big flex for them to say, this is the legit game. 50 years, baby. We got this, which there's a lot of other games that can say that, but
with the celebrity cast,
that's right.
No
Joe,
can say,
no Joe. That's for sure. He's played a werewolf. Anyhow. So that's it for this week. So where can people find you?
On Twitter, as always, where I'm complaining about parroting stuff, as usual, because that's where all my time is going.
Are you using a D20 to do any parroting
at
the time?
Because I can't even use them for spin down life counters in Magic anymore. I'm not playing that. All right. Anyway,
nice.
How about you?
So I'm doing the Abuse Cartoons live stream on Monday nights. It was actually Wednesday night this week because of the holiday. There's links below for both Chris's social media and Abuse Cartoons, so take a look at that. And if you like what we're doing with the weekly and Upturned Table, consider becoming a patron and being a weakling, the strongest of all patrons on the platform. So support us at patreon.com/upturntable, Upturned Table on all social media, and upturntable.com. And like I said, if you want to see that, there's actually on the Kickstarter page, they do a pretty nice silent page flip through. But if you want to hear some commentary and some more about like the quality of the book and everything, the flip through that we did will be linked in the description for this video. And yeah, it's well worth checking out if you're interested at all in early role play. This is an amazing, and it's because it's all in one. Like if you just had this book, you don't need D&D rules. You don't need anything else. You can actually play.
It's not D&D.
Yeah, right. You can play this book as it is and get the early experience. And that actually might be a very interesting way, maybe a much better way, if you find someone that's never played PC RPGs or whatever. No, let's play this. Let's play this. Don't play a wizard on a PC yet, on a computer, because that's going to screw you up. Let's do this. So yeah, very interesting. Okay, so thank you for joining us, and we'll be back next week.
Later, mortals.
Goodbye. All right, look at that chat going down the middle there.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
I got it.
All right, so
to work.
I'll be right back.
Back out of my corporate
Oh, do I still have the chat? Oh, this is the silent time. All right, sorry about that. Yeah, now I sized the chat up a little bit. I don't know how that's gonna work. I don't know if that quite fits in there. Wow, I can see. Yeah, I can see pretty easily. Hey, Joe, how's it going? Hey, Matt. So we're back and trying the new format here. I got to come up with a better graphic for the for here, but I just thought we'd do that for now. All right. So that was a lot of corporate restructuring and stuff. But you should definitely check out, if you're interested at all in early roleplay, that Tonisborg book is amazing, and just as a historical document, but also as a playable, early kind of old school dungeon, and old school in the actual old school way, not in that kind of easier to play, refined way. Yeah, but yeah, just take a look, and they do have a sample. They don't want to release it digitally, but they do have a PDF sample of what some of the pages, so you can see the layout and everything, and it's really well done. All right, so yeah, let's. The chat is too small on this. I guess let me go into maybe better in YouTube. So how is everybody doing? Oh, yeah. Are we talking Rings of Power? So we've got one more, the last episode of Rings of Power. So I definitely would recommend, because I was done with Star Wars, and especially after Book of Boba Fett and the Kenobi thing, those were garbage. But Andor was surprisingly good. It had that same tone that they started to strike with Rogue One, like without all the CG, Peter Cushing and all that weird, the stupid stuff that they did for that movie. But it has that gritty tone, no lightsabers, and just like the grunts, the people on the ground, and the early, the kind of proto rebels doing their thing. And this is a heist. This whole Andor thing, Andor series. I don't know if it's one season or just a mini series or something, limited series, but it's all based around a heist, and they do a good job with making it a good heist in Star Wars. And the characters are adults, and they change, and they're tricky, and they're flawed, and all the women aren't perfect, and it's surprisingly good. But I was really surprised, because when they announced it, I was like, who is going to watch that? Because I know there was a lot. When Rogue One came out, there was a lot of buzz around, and I don't know the actor's name, but the Latino actor that played Cassian Andor. It's like, oh, this is great in Star Wars, the first big Latino representation, and there were people that were really liked that, and really liked that character, mainly for that, but also the character itself was an interestingly flawed character, and you see that right away in the movie, and they capture that in the series as well. So I hope that continues. I hope that's not all that there is out there. There's another season of that, because that's the best thing they've done, easily the best thing they've done so far, including Marvel and anything on Disney Plus. That's easily the best series they've done, because it wasn't patronizing. Because I can't even enjoy the what's it called, the Clone Wars group of clone troopers, Bad Batch. Oh, that's her, Bad Batch. It's a terrible name. I can't enjoy that, because it's like they write it for kids, so it's got that weird. Even if you are interested in that time period of Star Wars, it's very unlistenable. Diego Luna, thank you, Joe. Yeah, so he got a lot of attention in Rogue One, and Rogue One was such an odd movie, because it was just, everyone was doomed, so you knew if you're going to see these characters again, it was going to have to be before the events of that movie. But they did a decent job. I mean, so much better than. It's so hard to get through episodes of the Rings of Power. I can't believe what they're doing. It's really bizarre. But it was much better. I switched it to Spanish. The Spanish dub of Rings of Power makes it much more watchable, because then people are confronting each other with the whatever the. all of their strange, passionate, bug-eyed looks. It makes a lot more sense. Oh my God, yeah, it does have I was telling Matt, it has the tone of a telenovela, except just like written for white people. So it's very boring and cold. But they tried to have that weird daytime drama kind of confrontations. Yeah, that show, House of the Dragon is very watchable. They're doing weird stuff, and they varied a lot from events in the historical book, the Blood and Fire and Blood or whatever, the Targaryen book. They varied from what happens there, but that does surprise you then. So if you're a reader, it does surprise you, and they're working with George R.R. Martin, so it's getting his blessing for making these changes. But the last episode was really heartbreaking and really good. The kind of final days of the king was really, really touching and really good. And they've already set up the sides, and they've got the tension going. So yeah, I'm enjoying it like I did earlier seasons of Game of Thrones, but that's not to say it can't go horribly wrong. It's still a little disconcerting that you're getting so many cast changes because they do time jumps between episodes. So you're getting so many cast changes. It's just as you get used to somebody playing a part and you're like, oh, that was a nice scene. Then it's like, oh, we're never going to see them again. He ain't going to be around here no more. Telenovela. Yeah, very, very odd. A very slow, boring telenovela is what Rings of Power was. So House of the Dragon is not that, and they've because the Targaryens are just bastards. There's a lot of great stuff in there, and the infighting, and it was just really sad. I don't want to spoil anything, but there was kind of they attempted a reconciliation. There was a dinner with all the different parts of the family, and the king said, "I just want everybody to love each other. That's all I want to see," and his indecision and his incompetence caused these rifts in the family. And the adults were like, okay, yeah, we can do that. We've seen, how, unproductive all of this, being opposed to each other and all this hatred is. But they've already passed it on to their kids. So they did a really good job of showing it, if you live with too much hate, you're passing that on to your kids. They're not going to as easily drop it as you did, once you're older and seeing the errors of your ways. There's still going to be a lot of time before they do. So they're setting up a lot of fun stuff. And I think that show has the difficulty of it's expensive to show the dragons, so they're being real stingy with the dragons in that show, which is difficult. But it's not boring. That's the nice thing about it is it's still got a lot of that great intrigue and a lot of the backstabbing and plotting that original Game of Thrones had. So it's a little bit of remote, but yeah, I don't want to recommend it too strongly because who knows, it could just go off the rails just as easily as the original show did, and it was really disappointing. Yeah, that last episode was really good because I was waiting for in the previews they showed the king wearing the half mask, the golden half mask. So I was like, oh yeah, he starts to really really fall apart. So I was waiting for him to have that costume, and that was really affecting and really powerful. They did some good casting. I think that's a big difference is the casting is much better in House of the Dragon, so the actors are able to portray the characters better, and I don't know how they cast the Rings of Power. It's just like almost nobody in that show has any screen presence, and it's so funny that they blinded the Numenorean queen or princess or whatever she is, the bench warming royalty, that they blinded her, and so she's going to be wearing a blindfold because all she did is that weird bug-eyed acting. She would just to look strong or impressive, or she just was constantly looking surprised. She had that crazy lady eye bug thing where you can see white all around the iris of her eyes, and that was her acting style. So it's so funny now that they've blindfolded her. So Abbas says, when I go to IMDb, I see things like Breaking Bad, Rick and Morty, even being in the same bracket or higher rated than Game of Thrones feels almost insulting because of just how. Well, early on, that's true. The Game of Thrones did change everything, especially I think people's expectations of fantasy, and I didn't even think about that myself, but that's why. Rings of Power is such a hard watch is because we've already had, adult fantasy, like more gritty, treacherous, deadly, sexualized fantasy. We've already had that, and you can't do that with Lord of the Rings. So, it feels weird. So the way that they're handling it feels even extra, especially going up right against it, having those two shows run against each other. But that's true. I think, really good television. And it started to get it was impressive, around season 4 or 5, every episode I'd be like, how did they, cover so much in one episode, because they did have to jump around, jump between characters and scenes and things, and it was getting pretty impressive in how they. And I don't think it was the showrunners that were actually managing that, but they did tell a hell of a lot of story because that world is so big and there's so many simultaneous things going on. So that was good television for a while, and I think they just gave up on it. I think everybody gave up on it. I think they alienated themselves from George R.R. Martin, the showrunners, the D&D, and then they just said, "Yeah, we're done. Disney's going to write us a big check, so screw you," and that was it. Yeah, but Abyss, I agree that it was there was something there, and there was some things that I really wanted to see, and I think they had some notes or whatever, like where characters were supposed to get. I think this has been said hundreds of times already, but they had notes from the author about where these characters were going to end up. It hadn't been written yet, but where his ideas kind of in an outline of where characters were going to end up, and they just tried to connect these dots in the most incompetent, just laziest ways possible, because I was waiting for, once Daenerys started to get really arrogant and she started to lose a little power hungry and everything, I thought they were going to kind of tease that madness, the Targaryen madness, with her, but they just had her like snap. She heard bells and she just snapped. So I thought they were going to build up to something interesting. So to show a woman on the throne should be more caring and nurturing or whatever, kind of stereotypes, like you would play against that expectation, and she ended up being like the most brutal ruler of all. But they didn't even get that far. Like they just kind of hinted at it. But that was like, there were hints in those seasons that could be a real sad downfall of her, and it just ended up being like, just weird, just real comic book style madness. It's crazy. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, Galadriel is and it seems like, so did you notice in that charge when they showed all the Numenorans on horseback, she's on a pony, and the fact that they made it a white horse, it looks like a pony, and so the legs are so much shorter, so at that full gallop it looks ridiculous. the legs on the little horse, I don't know if that's a CG thing or what, but I think if they really did that charge, you can obviously see she's on a tiny horse so that she doesn't look like a child, because the actress is way too short. And it's not like they didn't have to overcome that always with Lord of the Rings, with hobbits and having the scale of everything. So they easily could have done some trickery to scale her up a bit to make her a little bit more elegant and everything. But she's shorter than the kid. The scene in that last episode where she's palling around with the kid that found the evil sword. He's taller than she is, and so he's slouching. In a lot of scenes where they're walking along together, he's got this weird like slouch going so that she doesn't look so tiny. She is way miscast and doesn't have any facial expressions at all. It's so bizarre. Yes, right. And Isildur died. Well, we didn't see a body. We didn't see off camera. So we'll have a happy reunion. But he won't have a horse, right? Wasn't that his horse that they got rid of? Very, very goofy. But yeah, sorry. It sounds like an electric pencil sharpener. The power supply is really making a horrible noise. So I hope I can take that out. Apologies if you're listening to this on the Patreon RSS feed and you still hear that grinding sound. It won't be here next week. Sorry, no spoilers, no spoilers. Yeah, that's a big spoiler. Galadriel's really, really short. Pony spoilers. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. But yeah, if you haven't seen it, then that pony scene is going to be completely ruined for you. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not even enjoying like people talking about Rings of Power, like tearing it apart or complaining about it, or complaining about the canon or story things, the lore things that they're getting wrong. I'm not even enjoying that. So there's actually like nothing good coming out of that whole project, because you can't even enjoy the people just being disgusted with it. There's no like Mystery Science Theater way to even tolerate that series. I can't believe it's one more episode. It's very strange, and I wonder what kind of retooling, or if they're just so arrogant that nothing is going to change, or if there is actually some retooling going on. She's short, and there's a little white pony she's riding. Yeah, it's really crazy. Yeah, so I hope everyone is doing well. Yeah, it's good to see you, Joe, in the chat. So let me go back. Did I miss anything? Oh, wait. I missed something. Joe! Oh, hey, thank you so much. Did that even come up? I thought for sure, now that I had stuff changed, that it would come up more easily. Thank you for the donation, Joe. I just saw that. Let me repeat that, if I can get Streamlabs to actually come up. Let me repeat that. I'm so bad at that. Hello, Joe. Good to see you. And it look. Oh, it's really fucked up. I'm so sorry. I'm so bad at this. Okay, so let's take that graphic and get it the hell out of the way. Okay, let's do that. All right, and one more time. Thank you, Joe, with a big D20. Thank you so much. $19.99 from Joe. Hello. Yeah, hope you've been less busy lately. It's good to see you in the chat. Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, the combined chat. I think that's what it is. Is the combined chat doesn't give me any notifications. So if I'm not looking at the YouTube chat, it's really not well done. Thank you so much, though. And yeah, what are the thoughts about that? About the changing the format of the chat? I wanted something more readable, and unfortunately, this also changes the style of the chat in the my Abuse Cartoons stream. So everything will look like that, but it's a little cleaner and more readable. But the options that Restream have, or no, is it Restream? No, I think it's actually Streamlabs. Yeah, the Streamlabs versions are all like Fortnite, and it's all like game-based stuff. Yes. Oh, thank you. Yes, that'll help. That will. Thank you. Yeah, so much for the donation. That'll definitely help for the new power supply. That is definitely needed. I'm so worried by how bad that sounds that it's just gonna drop out. Like the computer will just shut off. So if the stream does suddenly end, that is in fact what happened. But I will, work on that to get that changed over. So I've got a new one. It's just the case that it's in. It looks a little involved. There's like a weird shielding on the compartment where the power supply goes. It doesn't look like it's going to be easy to get to all the screws, but we'll get it working. Yeah. So yeah, much appreciated, Joe. It's great to have you. Yeah. I'll make sure I shut it down. It sounds like it's just the fan. And I looked, and there's no debris or anything. So it seems like, but that does mean it's not cooling correctly. So I have the sides off. I have the sides off the tower, and make sure that it's getting enough air, and it'll be changed out for next time. And I got an extra quiet one. Not that, not that I'll know, but it does just sound like the cooling. The fan is just off-centered a little bit, or just grinding it out. So it needs changed, and you can't just change that. So I just bought the whole new thing. But all right. Yeah, so hopefully, and I'll try to stream this if we do it, but we're going to try to get together, Chris and I and some of the other members of the group, and do probably that Gates of Antares, the Rebellion Studios kind of magazine one-shot. That has kind of a scary element. So it's a sci-fi game. You're like, hired, your interns hired to work on a ship that has a, hibernating, has a bunch of passengers hibernating. And things go horribly wrong. So we'll play that. It's just like a D6 die pool kind of system. It's its own like original system for that magazine. So we'll play that and try to get a stream of it. Hopefully, it'll probably be single camera, but we'll try to get something going on for some Halloween content, because the adventure gets pretty dark. If anyone's played that. Nice. Yeah, burned to dust bunnies. Yeah, that's right. Nice. Yeah, right. It is a bit the way that it goes does because it turns out don't listen to anybody that's going to be playing that, but it turns out like there's like a cult, there's like a demonic or satanic cult involved and stuff. So things get pretty dark. There's like a chaos cult that you uncover, and you guys are like not very competent. You're like a graphic designer and a janitor, and like so the the characters that you're playing are not well equipped to handle anything. You're not adventurers or heroes, so it makes it extra creepy. Yeah, so hopefully we can get a nice long session of that and stream it towards the end of the month for some spooky spooky actual play. All right, well, I think that's going to do it for this week. It was so great to have everybody in the chat, and thanks again, Joe, for the donation. You are wonderful. You really help us keep stuff going. Yeah, this combined chat. I don't want to miss like anybody that's commenting in Twitch or anything else, but the combined chat is so bad. Oh well. But yeah, take care. And yeah, tomorrow, another John Carter session. So, Matt, I hope you're ready. I hope you're healed up from last time. That was the most injury, I think, that's happened so far. So we'll get it done. But yeah, everybody take care. And we'll be back again next week to do this again. And the next episode 3 of the Blade Runner actual play is coming soon. The audio is almost done, and then I just have to do the graphics. But a lot of that's already laid out, so it doesn't take as long as the first one. So hopefully that'll be soon, and we will do this again next time. So thank you so much, all the patrons that have access to this and the RSS. Thank you so much for your patronage, and it really means a lot to keep us going. And thanks again, Joe. Good donation. And the members as well. So everyone in this chat is members. So thank you for being a member on YouTube. And if you'd like to do that yourself, if you're watching this live or in on demand, the join button below will get you a membership with access to the content only for members. So early releases of things and like longer versions of certain videos are available. All right. So everybody take care, and we'll see you again next time. Goodbye.